I'm excited to share with you. And I had to put a video out because I feel like I've learned so much in the past year that I can't not share with anybody who needs some encouragement or just needs to hear my story about what's been working and what hasn't been working. So I truly hope that this is helpful. Are you a beginning homeschooler and kind of wondering where to start? Well, I was in that same position about a year ago, and I would like to show you sort of my process, what I went through, some curriculums I checked out, the approach that I took to sort of figuring it all out. And of course, it's still evolving. I am in no way an expert in homeschooling. I just started. My daughter is going to be 5 this summer. And so I'm going to give you sort of an overview of what we've been using for preschool leading up into kindergarten, starting kindergarten. So I hope this helps you in your journey. And yeah, let's get started. So basically, I'm a first-time mom, first-time homeschooler. My name is Juliana, if you're new here, and I have a almost 5-year-old who we just do everything together, right? So homeschooling was kind of the natural way, among other reasons for homeschooling. It's a good fit for our family. So let me get started. Where am I going to start? When I first looked into curriculums, I was immediately drawn to Gather Round for some reason. I wasn't taking a particularly Christian approach to homeschooling, although I'm finding my way back to it now. And I'm super excited because that's something that I've recently been drawn to, right? Getting back into connecting myself and my family with God. And I figure homeschooling is a great place to start. So it's interesting that the first curriculum I was really considering looking at was Gather Round, and they incorporate a little bit of Bible study in their curriculum. So that being said, you do not have to be a Christian or practicing Christian or, follow any of that if you want to use these curriculums. It's like an optional part of them. So first thing I was drawn to was the letters and numbers, which is their preschool curriculum. And there's 4 sections of it. So it's almost like there's 4 terms of it. What is the first one? In the Forest, I think, is the first one. On the Farm is the second one. Into the Jungle is the third one. And the fourth one is Into the Air, I believe. We are just getting started on the second student book B for On the Farm. So we're in the second section of that program. So I haven't completed it. We have not completed it. So this isn't going to be like a full review or anything, but I just want to give you, sort of where we are and how it's evolved since I started, right? So I love that these are just open and go. The teacher's guide has a reading for every day. And then in each reading, this one focuses specifically on an animal or a plant on a farm. And then it's got a little Bible reading here. It talks about whatever you read about in the Bible. And then there's some sort of questions. And it tells you what's going on each pages for the student notebook. And also in the beginning, they tell you what's going to be covered each week. So what I liked about this curriculum was that it wasn't just letters and numbers. They also cover science, they cover Bible, math, the alphabet, fine motor skills, pre-writing and scissor skills, and art stuff where you do messy stuff, right? Fun stuff. So I really liked that it incorporated everything. So it was just, the way I looked at it was just one curriculum that I was going to use for the whole year, and it would cover pretty much everything that we need to do, right? That being said, when we got to actually doing the notebook sections, I'll just give you sort of a brief look at it. So you get introduced to the letter, and there's a cutout. They can color it, do some art, a little section about whatever you're learning about in the Bible. You've got your numbers, you've got an activity down here. I really like that there's just one activity for each page. It keeps it very, very simple. So sometimes I look at, student notebooks and they're just very busy. There's a lot going on. So I really, really valued the simplicity. These were really fun. My daughter loved doing these, where she would tell me a story. She would dictate me a story and I would write it down here and she would draw a picture to accompany it, or she would do the picture first and then tell me a story about it. We didn't always follow these prompts, so I'm kind of one of those people that doesn't always like to follow plans and instructions to the T, but I did try to keep to it just to follow the curriculum here. But it was fun. She liked doing it. We did these books. We did create the little books. These are pretty cool. So we have a nice collection of books. It got to the point where she kind of just didn't want to make them anymore. She didn't really enjoy coloring them. I don't know. I think she's kind of like me, where I want to be in the mood sometimes. And I wasn't going to make her do something that she absolutely didn't want to do that wasn't really necessary. So that being said, these workbooks did get a little tedious for her, sort of there was a lot of cutting out, especially in the beginning, where she just didn't want to do some of the activities, which was fine because a lot of the stuff was review. I didn't always feel like it was necessary. It was just kind of like a fun activity book to do alongside with the readings and the teacher's guide. The one thing I really kind of wished was different. I'm not saying that this is bad curriculum anyway. I mean, I loved it. Still love it as we're doing it. But when you would be introduced to an animal or a plant or something, it was a focus on the phonics of the letters. So Robbie Rooster, that would be the letter R and the R sound. So it would get into that. It's very open and go, and it tells you exactly what to say to your child, which sometimes I liked, and sometimes I was like, okay, this is I don't know. I felt like it wasn't me to be speaking this way sometimes. Excuse me. So it was helpful though with doing the phonemic awareness, but at the same time, it didn't match the letters that you reviewed, that you went over in the teacher's guide, did not match the letters that you were working on in the notebook. So we have here the letter O for page 1, but we're reading about the letter R. So the fact that it didn't match up didn't really make sense to me, and I'm sure there's a reason why they designed it this way, but for me that was kind of I don't know. I felt like there should have been some correlation there, which there wasn't. But not, that's not a game changer or anything. So that's these books. So like I said, there's one book for each section or term. So this is letters and numbers 2. And this goes with there's actually 2 student notebooks that go with that. So there's the student notebook A, which we finished, and student notebook B, which we're on now. So it's a lot of it's a lot of busy work, I found. A little too much in terms of having it paired with the readings, but they didn't really pair with the readings anyway. So for us, this just became a read aloud book, honestly. We would read through like 5-10 pages at a time some days. And obviously that wouldn't match up with the amount of work we were doing in the workbook. So we kind of got behind on the workbook, which is fine because she didn't always want to do the busy work of the workbook. I think for us, maybe we could have done without the workbook, but there are key things in the workbook that maybe I wouldn't have covered other than the phonics, right? So it is valuable in terms of going through, like, there's seasons and things like that. So, and we did do some time telling and things like that. Anyway, I'm going to move on because this is going to be a really long video if I don't. So we kind of took a break from this because we got through these teacher's guides really fast. And I just felt like I wanted to be doing a little bit more, moving at a faster pace with the phonics part. So what I found later was Phonics Around the Campfire by Campfire Curriculums. And I absolutely adore this curriculum. I think I was led to it because my daughter tends to be a very audible learner. And this doesn't have all of the busy work because there's no student notebook. It's got, I don't have the beginning of this, but in the beginning they go through like very, very basic phonics concepts, and it literally walks you through step by step how to talk about it with your child. And this is something that I know nothing about, right? Using your voice box, like, can you feel that you're using your voice? Because when there's certain letters you can feel in your throat. When you put your hand here, it vibrates, right? And some letters like f, or t, your voice box isn't being used. So that was kind of like things like that I wouldn't have known about otherwise, and as far as teaching, was super, super valuable to me. And she loved doing that, like feeling certain parts of your mouth moving, and it goes through like very, very specifically what each letter does. And it's got a lot of review, and in every section it would have a page with the letters on it. So we would go through pointing to each letter and naming the A, B, C's, the letters. So yeah, I really, really like the flow of this as well. So I'll just go through one section, for example. So we're for the letter F. You've got beautiful, beautiful artwork. I love the artwork. I think it's just beautiful. So we've got, which side to do here? We've got review of previous sections, previous letters, and then we've got say the new letter name and trace it. So actually tracing with her fingers, she would trace in the book. And then you have her air write. And then you go through the oral motor movements, which this is where what I found super valuable. So F says f as in fox, say f, 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 repeat 3 times. What does the letter say? Where are your teeth? How is the air coming out of your mouth? Do you notice your voice box buzzing? Things like that. Like I wouldn't think about these things, right? Because it's just such a natural thing. And then sing the song. They have a whole page of links where you can listen to songs about the letter. And then find it in the alphabet. So there's your alphabet. And then see it in your memory. You're going to show it to them again. And then they're going to air draw it and say the name and the sound. You're going to read. They have certain readings for each section. So this one's Winnie the Pooh. And they have links to everything if it's not actually in the book. Some of the readings are actually in the book itself, so you can read it right from the page. I printed this out myself and just put put the sections that we were working on just a few pages at a time because it's a very big file. Put the section we're working on in this little binder. And then you've got review, ask them what the letter is and its sound, extension activities. So there's these optional things you can do where they just point for the letters, the sounds. And then a kinesthetic activity, head outside and see how many different kinds of flowers you can find and pick. Look for wildflowers. Each time you pick one, say flower or make the sound. So it was super engaging. We're only a little more than halfway through it right now. Another activity, find things that start with the letter F in here. She really loved it. She loves to just sit on my lap and read. So if you have a child that loves reading and they're not so much into busy work, Phonics Around the Campfire by Campfire Curriculums is golden. I truly am, like, we're enjoying this so much. So that's that one. Okay, so after taking a break from Gather Rounds, Letters, and Numbers and jumping into Campfire Curriculums, I was feeling like, well, that's great. We're getting the letters and numbers pretty much down. Like, I'm confident that if we continue with these, she's going to be good, right? So, but I was still feeling like there was something missing. The Bible reading in particular, and the little blurbs and sections in Letters and Numbers were great, but I realized I wasn't actually doing the readings in the Bible, so because I just never was a Bible reader, and I really wanted to make that something as sort of like a cornerstone of our family time and our homeschool. So I was like, well, I don't know where to start. Like, I've never been a Bible reader, but I wanted to find something where I could incorporate that a little bit more into our homeschool, because I thought it was something that we could do together, right? And so what I came across after like watching videos, and I had heard of a lot of curriculum companies, and I had done a lot of previous research in the past, and I came across Gentle and Classical Press. And I've got a whole binder right here. But I first was like, okay, well, we're gonna for next thing we'll do their like primer, right? So I went ahead and I purchased their primer just so I could take a look at it, because I like after I think there might have been samples, I don't remember, but I knew just looking at it and reading the teacher's guide that this is what I wanted to do. They do have a free teacher's guide. That's what it was. I read their teacher's guide, and from reading that, I was like, okay, I'm all in, right? And so this is their getting started guide. I've got that all in here. So I went ahead and downloaded everything and started putting together, sort of getting ready for starting kindergarten, because I was just so excited to start implementing what I could, right, before we actually started. And that just opened up a whole new, I want to say like wormhole of everything that I ever wanted to create in my homeschool. What they have you create is a memory statement board. And this sort of acts as your map. How I look at it is your map for everything that you're going to be learning on any given day. So for me, this was like, the one thing that sort of brought it all together, because I have a visual of what we're going to be learning about. And I will show you an actual, in this video, I'll do a little video of what that memory statement board looks like. And it's like a godsend. So some of the things that are included on the memory statement board are okay, let me back up first. I had the primer, right? And I'm like, well, let me just look at the preschool one, because I feel like we're going to be missing out if we just jump into the primer, right? So of course now I'm like over my head in all these things that I want to use in our homeschool, but I found a way to incorporate them all, preschool and primer. And we're not starting the primer yet, but I'm sort of like fast tracking the preschool section, if that makes sense. So bear with me. So we've got this is our cute little book. My name is, it's got her name, it's got my mommy, my daddy, my family, I see with my eyes. These are the all about me cards. So these are the memory statement cards that get posted on your board. And so I decided to make a book out of those cards for our preschool. I was using the cards on the board, but it got to be like, it would take too long to have like I don't know, it wasn't working time-wise to go through all of them. And it was better for us to just have a book that we can read through together. And like I said, I think she's a very audible learner in general. So for her, like, to be looking through a book, it's fun. And she's taking it all in still. It's not like we're focusing on one every week. So it's sort of like a fast track way for me to like have all that information there and accessible to her when she wants to read it. And it's something she can look through herself. She can't read it yet, but it's fun. She likes when we read it together. And she can look at the pictures and go through it herself if she likes. So that's one aspect of it. And then you've got the nursery rhymes. So I went ahead and printed all of the nursery rhymes. I was using them, like I said, the same way as the All About Me ones on the memory statement board. But now I was like, well, let's just make a book. I also had borrowed from the library the classic nursery rhymes book, which they recommend all of these are in. And I figured, why not just make this into a book that we can read? And then I can send that book back to the library to make room for more books. We just love books here. So here's all the nursery rhymes. So these would as you can use them however you want. This is the beauty of this program that they have. I'm really loving adapting it to how we're going to get the most use out of it. And just to focus on one nursery rhyme like a week or even a day, it seems like, I don't know, I want to read them all, right? Most of the time will sit and we'll read like 12 of them in one day. So this works better for us right now. Then, so they do not in-depthly cover math. They're not a math curriculum or a language arts curriculum. They are not. But they do incorporate language arts into their sort of scheme of things. But it's recommended that you have a separate math and a separate language arts alongside the rest of their curriculum. So I would call it more of like a language arts and Bible study and that sort of thing. And sort of, I don't know, for me it was like putting it all together. So what we have for their math is, is this the preschool one? Yes, this is the preschool one. Again, for the preschool, I put them into a book. So most of the stuff she already knows and she's pretty mastered. So it didn't make sense to use each individual one of these on our memory statement board to go through for a week. You know, like this is something that we can go through and she's pretty much got it down pat. Oh, they're not in order. Anyway, these ones are supposed to be at the end. The only ones that I was using in the beginning on our memory statement board we never really got into pennies, but addition, subtraction, and then this is actually the beginning. So basically we went through the last 3 of these and sort of like we're ready for the primer math. So it didn't make sense to be using these on our memory statement board. So I just made a little book. I'm trying to go through this a little faster because I don't want this to be a super long video. All right, so next we have the letters. I think they're called flashcards or something, but I use them. Same thing. I have a little letter of the week and a number of the week section. No, letter of the week and math of the week. So we were doing letter of the week in accordance with following the book recommendations in the program. And what we're using these for now, since she pretty much knows all her letters, it doesn't make sense to just have a focus anymore. And there's a lot of books to get through. And okay, so bear with me. So now we're using these. We have, I have the, what's it called? Bananagrams. My first bananagrams, which is the lowercase letters. And we also have the regular bananagrams, which is capital letters. But we've been using the lowercase ones to spell out elephant. The reason I like using the letter tiles instead of writing and tracing for her is she's not really into the whole tracing thing. Like, she'll do it, but it's more fun for her right now to play with the letters and spell out the words. So that's what we've been doing. We've been doing letter tiles with these, and these are great. I love them. I like the size of them too. They're not like tiny, and the letter tiles fit really nicely on these. So I highly recommend getting bananagrams. My first bananagrams for the lowercase if you want to do lowercase. So that's the letters. And then they also have what they call a morning binder. I don't have our morning binder here because my daughter is not here. She went with her grandma, and so she has her morning binder with her where she does her morning binder stuff. But they've got, for the morning binder, you have your letter for you to trace or build or use Play-Doh or however you want to do it for your letter. And then you've got the tracing. So I put these in, I'll just show you one of these morning menus. And so she can write over these with a dry erase. So you're tracing the letters, shows you how to draw them, and then you're finding the letters in the words. So it's not just finding the letters within letters, it's finding them in words. So you're getting used to seeing words, which I really like. So we change that out every once in a while. Again, she pretty much knows all her letters, so it's kind of just review for her right now. But it's a good practice for her getting into sort of having something consistently every day that she's working on, which I love about the morning binder. So these are the letters. What's also great is that they get into letter blends. So they also have letter blends toward the end of when you're working through the letters. And the order that they do the letters in is, I think it's, from what it looks like, it's according to how the motions work for drawing the letters. And I think that's based on some other curriculum for learning like letters and phonics. I'm not sure what it is, so I can't tell you, but it makes sense for us to go through it that way. They call them Wonder Tales, or just readings, read alouds. So these are the different books. So if we had a specific letter for the week that we were going to focus on, I would make sure we got that book from the library, and then I would put this on our memory statement board just to sort of as a reminder of what book we're reading in case we forgot. But I really liked using these. These were fun. And I sort of jump around because they didn't have all of the books at the library that I wanted all the time. But they do have other book recommendations for those letters, so, which is great because we love books and they don't always have the books that we want at the library. So this is how I store all of the memory statement cards for my gentle and classical preschool, and I'm going to be using it for the primer as well. So basically we have the letters in here. And then what they have is great. They have the character and catechism cards. These are the catechism cards. So who made you? God made me. And then so one catechism will follow a couple different lessons, so there's not, you know, you'll keep one up for a couple weeks. And then, so these are great because I never really did this as a kid, so they're kind of fun. And they're just little memory statement cards for those. Then we have, and these are the character cards. So I am patient. I put off later what I want right now. And they have sort of here, you can sing them. So this is for the tune of Are You Sleeping? So we would sing that together. And that's actually for a few weeks. You have the same one. So you get really good at the one, right? I am attentive. I listen with my eyes, ears, and my heart. So these are great character cards. And there's books also that they recommend to go along with the different characters and virtues that you're learning. And then you've got the scripture cards. So there's only a handful of scriptures for preschool. And I'm probably going to end up making this into a book as well, along with the character cards and the catechism cards. Just because, I don't know, we'll see how fast we move through these, but we still have a couple to go. And I don't know, just finding this company like kind of brought it all together. And I haven't even gotten into like my future planning, but there's some really cool stuff that I've found. And then we've got the manners and hygiene cards. I am gentle with small things. When I touch, I must remember small things can break, so I always use my gentle touch for the tiny things' sake. A lot of these are, you know, review for her, but they're still great. And I'm also making a book. I already put the holes in them. I'm going to make a little book as well for these. I can be quiet when asked. So these are great, just review of things that she pretty much already knows, but it's always good to review things. And they're small. They're cute books that she loves the pictures. All right, so, and then we've got the art. So I took a little liberty in this, but right now we're learning about Van Gogh, and then there's Matisse, and then Leonardo da Vinci. And I just printed out some of the artwork. So they give you all of the artwork for those. And then music, we have learned about Peter and the Wolf. And forgive me, I don't even remember the composer's name. But she had already watched Peter and the Wolf, the Russian ballet, and it was freaking like one of her favorite. It's still one of her favorite things to do. Not to do. It's one of her favorite things to watch is Peter and the Wolf. She loves that story. She loves the music. So that was like a great introduction to music and instruments. And they also give you some like cutouts of the different characters, all the animals, and the grandfather and the boy and Peter. And you can like act out and like match up the instruments with the characters. We haven't done that yet because, like I said, she's not really into like staging things. And anyway, we haven't gotten to that yet. Wait till she's in the mood. Anyway, so that's gentle and classical preschool. And then I have the primer all lined up, ready to go for when I feel like we're ready to move in that direction. Not that it's a different direction, but you know what I mean. So that's gentle and classical. Cool. Whoa. My bad. Okay, so the other thing that gentle and classical really helped me hone in on was our morning time. I always had like a morning time, but it never felt like I was enthusiastic about all the things we were doing until I sort of found a way to bring it all together, right? Because I never had those connections before for some reason. And it took finding them to find it. So I've created my morning menu for morning time. So we do our nature read aloud, our hymn, or I change this, it's now hymn or folk song or some kind of music. And maybe sometimes we incorporate our composer, whoever we're studying. And then we do her morning menu. So she'll work on her morning menu. Then we'll do Bible study, which right now is just reading the Jesus Storybook Bible. We're not doing any sort of study. She's just listening to the story. Sometimes I'll have her narrate back to me, which I know is a super important part of the Charlotte Mason style of education. A lot of narration. It's too forced right now for her to narrate back. She's a great storyteller in general. But when I ask her to narrate it back, she hasn't been into it lately. So we're working on that. And then we've got memory statements. Go over the memory statements that are on our board. So this is like a reminder to actually look at the board and do some of the memory work. And then we have our Wonder Tale, which has been a lot of read aloud books. And I don't necessarily stick with just the ones that we have laid out for that week because of the letter that we happen to be working on. We have a lot of books that we just read aloud, and a lot of them are nature books. A lot of are the recommendations from Ambleside Online and other resources that I've come across that have great, literature that I want to be sharing with her. And she just loves read alouds. So we have a lot of books that we get from the library. One thing I feel like I'm struggling with lately is the poetry. Every time I start reading a poem, she's like, no. So I'm like, all right. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe it's because I've never been into poetry, and maybe I put off some vibes about that. I'm not sure. But so this is our morning time. And then we've got our core loop. So what I've included in our core loop is language arts, which right now is just working on letters, right? And reading. I was thinking possibly about trying the Good and the Beautiful language arts program. Just for something, just to try it, see if she likes it. And I know it incorporates a lot of other stuff, which I found to be not a hindrance, but it felt like too much other fluff within letters and numbers, because I felt like I didn't need a book to do nature study. I didn't need like worksheets for her to do nature study or learn about science or for doing math and that kind of thing, because I am going to be doing a separate math curriculum with her. I did go through the book Preschool Math at Home, which is great, which is how, like, going through that book, I was like, oh, she already knows all this. So we did a couple of things that I knew that we hadn't really covered before, just to make sure that she had those basics. So that's a whole nother story. This video is very scattered, and I apologize, but this is just how I roll. Our whole homeschool is scattered, but it's also very connected. So I'm excited to share with you. And I had to put a video out because I feel like I've learned so much in the past year that I can't not share with anybody who needs some encouragement or just needs to hear my story about what's been working and what hasn't been working. So I truly hope that this is helpful. So where was I? The language arts. So I do want to try The Good and the Beautiful, because I've heard good things about it. So maybe we'll try it. I have the what are they called? The letter booster cards for before you, whatever you have to master before you start the kindergarten, the K version section, K curriculum. Before you start the K, they have things that you have to have your child master. So we're working on that is the plan, right? So that will be our language arts. Or we might just continue with letters and numbers, and maybe she wants to do the activities in that. But I'm not worried about, you know, making sure that we cover everything. I think it's, I don't know, I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting our own process. And wherever we are, we can always go back and work on something that she needs help with. So I think between finishing phonics around the campfire, maybe jumping back into letters and numbers, and possibly trying out the good and the beautiful. That's our language arts right now. Although I have phonics as separate, so we are definitely finishing our phonics around the campfire because I do want to stick with that. And then math. So math, I have ordered Math with Confidence because that's recommended by the Gentle and Classical, which, like I said, I really loved having this as our like basic preschool, like she knows this, right? And once she knows this, we can move on to primer, which is based on Math with Confidence. So I figure we went through preschool math at home. This basically covers everything that's in that book. And we can move on to Math with Confidence, which is the next logical step, in my opinion. And I have also printed out, I accidentally printed out 2 copies of the primer, Gentle and Classical primer cards for the math section. And these are, like I said, based on Math with Confidence. So I'm excited to start that curriculum. So I have this copy as a booklet, which we can refer to, as well as another copy of these cards printed out, which I will be using on our memory statement board. So we will be covering each one of these cards individually once a week, or whenever we decide to move on to the next, because our weekly schedules are not always the same. We don't always have the same amount of school days in our week. School days, I use that very loosely. So flexibility is something I need. And that is possible with this curriculum. So that's the memory statement cards. And then as well as those, you have the binder, morning binder card. So we can rotate through the numbers. And these are included with both the primer and the preschool. They go up to, I think, 20. I just have the 1 through 10 here right now. There's also things like addition and subtraction with money, make 10, symmetry, position, meaning of symbols, and other things. I'm not going to go through all of them, but those are all things that you can include in your morning binder for your child, which is great. I love having that consistent thing every day that she knows that she's going to be working on pretty much by herself. It also includes like weather, writing your name, writing your age, the season, the month of the year, the day of the week. All of those things are going to be covered in the morning binder if you decide to use them. Okay, so back to our core loop. We've got language arts, math, phonics, character, and catechism. So with the character and catechism, we have specific books that we are just reading from. I think it's Big Thoughts for Little People is actually like an ABC book based on character, which is kind of cool. And then Children's Book of Virtues is another book. Everyday Graces, I think, is the book that they recommend for the primer. So I got that from the library. We haven't done any reading for it. I think we read 1 from it. I do intend to use that with the primer. So I haven't really gotten into that book yet. And then I probably have some other books that I can't recall right now. But I will show you our library later if you'd like, at another point, and maybe in another video. So, and then we have handwriting. Handwriting is something that we don't necessarily do every day, but I want to start incorporating it into our daily routine. It is covered in letters and numbers. There is some tracing and things like that. Also in the morning binder, there's, tracing the number, tracing the letters, things like that. I created a binder for her that has a ton of handwriting pages that she can do. Like most of them are very short, like only copy like maybe 5 or 6 letters. But we're not into the like sitting and doing work at the table mode these days. So, which is fine because it's like getting into summertime. Like I'm not going to make her sit at the table. She's still 4 years old. Like that's not what we're going to be doing if she doesn't want to. If she wants to do it, great. And then we've got handicraft. There's a activity and handicraft guide that I love these binder things, by the way. They have the whole things. So all you need is a hole punch instead of having I would prefer having it binded, but I'm not going to buy a binding machine right now, even though I'd probably get very good use out of it. I just love these. That's upside down. So this has not only the activities, the handicrafts, like cooking and making flower crowns. And so some of these things, like sensory stuff and that kind of thing, some of them like we've done and like, yeah, they'd be fun to do again. But this one we loved, making the pockets. We didn't do a pocket full of kisses, but we did a pocket for our Wondertale characters because we did start with the primer before I got the preschool, and we did the 3 Little Pigs, and all the cutouts of the 3 Little Pig characters, she put them in the pocket that we made that we hang on the wall. So every week when we have a new set of characters, that's going to be where we keep them, where we can reenact the fairy tale or the nursery rhyme or whatever we're going to be reading about. So that's kind of fun. Anyway, so there's the activity guide, but it also has sort of like a write-up about each of the books and what you're learning about from the book, and then an additional book list for each letter, which I found I found very helpful when looking for the books at the library. I just go online and I type in what I need and order them, and they have them ready for me. They call me when they're ready. It's great. I love the library. I'm like fallen back in love with the library. So this is great. They have great resources. Next, we have our weekly enrichment loop. So I got a lot of Simply Charlotte Mason is another wonderful resource for organizing your school year based on history, like centuries, sections in history, and pairing them up with Bible study and that sort of thing. Anyway, whole nother rabbit hole of amazing, amazing, amazing resources. Sorry, there's kids outside. So this is our weekly enrichment loop. And notice the other 2 were daily. So we have the daily core and we have the daily morning time. This is weekly. So every day I will pick one of these or 2 of these or however many to loop through. So we'll have nature study. We'll have home geography. I have here phone numbers because we were learning about phone numbers. History, we have body and manners, and we have art and music. So I think I just put music up here and put art down here. I changed it, but because I wanted to make sure we got phone numbers in there. Important that your kid learns your phone number. So for nature study, I don't have it super strict right now. We're just reading lots of nature stories, lots of literature about nature, and we're going outside. I found a ton of curriculum online, free resources. I've purchased a couple things, But to sit down and like do busy work when we can be outside, like that's like it takes a back seat, right? For us, it's more about just going outside and exploring and collecting. We love collecting. We've started a wildflower collection book where every time we find a new flower, as long as there's more than a few, we will take a cutting and bring it home, identify it, and put it in our scrapbook. And so that's one way that we've been learning about different wildflowers. I've never been into wildflowers, so this is like so fun for me. Probably more fun for me than it is for her, but that's beside the point. So nature study. Get outside, have fun. Don't make it complicated. Let them observe. They're young. They know how to have fun and play with things and learn through play. So important at this age. Home geography. I came across this through Simply Charlotte Mason mentions it, or somebody does. I printed it out. It's free online. You can find it's online. You can find it free, print it out. And I have it somewhere. Here we go. I printed it out. Home geography. It goes through like basic things that a kid should know, like direction, how to find their way home, landscapes, like just things that you wouldn't think to teach, but things that you should know. But also I want to show you, this is my binder that has our weekly menu where I kind of like outline everything for myself, so I like know what options we have every day for what we can work on. It's just to like jog my memory of like, oh, we could do a handicraft, like maybe I forgot about the handicrafts, or we can read a story from so-and-so book, that we're currently working on. And then just like random, like a poem that I wanted to read that I didn't want to forget about. I just throw things in here. Telling time, I found like a telling time activity. A is for attention, so we're working on attention. And so I have just a couple different cards that we can use for that. Math circle activities, these are recommended in Gentle and Classical Press. And then I've got our artwork that we're studying, and then our music study in here as well. So sort of like to keep me organized, and then a hymn in the beginning. So for like to keep me on the game, right? Because she's not going to be on the game if I'm not on the game, right? So yeah, I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, or do you want to know more about any particular curriculum, let me know, and maybe I can do like a more in-depth review or talk about it or Q&A or whatever. Let me know, and I'm going to keep you updated on what we're doing, because there's a lot that I'm planning and I'm very excited about it. But for now, let me show you our memory statement board. So this is our memory statement board, and we've got the different sections that I printed out from the Gentle and Classical Press, and it's sort of our nature theme for the last couple weeks has been tadpoles and frogs, because we got some tadpoles, which I will show you at the end of this video. So here's just the different sections, and yeah, it's a great way for myself and my daughter to sort of have a visual of what all that we're working on and studying. And here is just a sort of unit study I put together of sort of ponds and frogs and tadpoles and little artwork and some coloring pages, life cycles, some just like busy work if we, it's like a rainy day and we can't get outside for some reason, or Charlie just feels like doing something as a like hands-on nature study in our classroom. And this is our letter of the week and our math, which I don't have there on right now. And here are our little froglets. We found them as tadpoles and brought a few of them home, and we've been hanging out. We're gonna release them once they're big enough to go back.